Hi, everyone. Welcome to JANK Talk 2020, your favorite podcast for NFL predictions and recaps. I'm Addy and I'm excited to have our four co-hosts with us today. We got Kinan, Ethan, Nolan, and Brad. All of us are excited to talk about, this past Thursday's game between the Chiefs and the Texans and what's coming up this upcoming week into what the year is going to be like. So if you guys want to start with Ethan, introduce yourself a little bit, go into who your favorite team is.
Hey guys, I'm Ethan. I am a diehard Packer fan, so I think we got a good shot at the NFC North this year. Just gonna say that. But yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say, Addy.
That was perfect. Kinan, you want to go?
All right. My name is Kinan. I'm the token Jags fan. So yeah,
bad.
It's a good time. They're terrible.
Beautiful day to be a Jags fan.
Yeah, wonderful day to be a Jags fan.
Nolan.
Hi, I'm Nolan. I am a stereotypical Bostonian Patriots fan.
You want to take a step back from the mic, bud?
No. So my voice is weirdly loud, and I don't know how to use my mic yet. So I'm dumb. But yep, here we go. Patriots fan.
And Brad.
And everything.
All right, I'm Brad. I'm also a Packers fan, so born and raised in Wisconsin. Hoping for a good season this year. High expectations, but not sure if they'll meet the real expectations.
Oh, come on, Brad. That's not a true Packers fan.
You know what?
I got to be a realist.
It's nice to have some humbleness come from Packer fans living here.
Gotta be a little blind sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think starting off today's discussion with the Texans-Chiefs game is going to be the best way to start off. I'll give a little bit of a recap of the game. So if you're listening to this, you probably watched the game, but the Chiefs dominated the Texans. The score was 34-20.
Wasn't really that close.
Pat Mahomes had. Oh, 1 second. Pat Mahomes had 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. 211 yards doesn't sound like a lot, but they didn't have to really do anything after the first half. Deshaun Watson had 253 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Doesn't sound like awful stats, but you got to remember that he had less than 150 yards until fourth quarter garbage time. So it was a stop by every means imaginable. I didn't think it was going to be like that. We'll start with Ethan. Do you have any thoughts on the game and how it went?
You kind of alluded to it too. The score definitely was not. The game was not as close as the score would indicate. 20-34. It really wasn't even that close. My one takeaway from the game was that Chiefs offense looks pretty nice. I don't see anyone stopping them.
You know what? A couple analysts that are not us said is usually Super Bowl teams when they win the Super Bowl, they go on this like party binging streak for like 4 months. But because of COVID, the Chiefs couldn't like go to every single city and just party it up everywhere. So they were a lot more focused than other teams have been in the past, which might attribute to them having like an even better offense than their Super Bowl winning team. Kinan, you want to give your thoughts on the game?
All right. So you know how Ethan was saying his main takeaway was the Chiefs offense. I think my main takeaway is the Chiefs defense. I think they did a great job of essentially just controlling the pace of the game, preventing opportunities, and I think they were more important and paramount to the victory than the Chiefs offense.
Yeah, that is I know in the first half, it was frustrating to see the Texans offense because I was definitely cheering for the Texans because the Chiefs have become my Patriots now because they're good and I hate every team that's good.
Nolan, bandwagon, baby.
Nolan, speaking of the Patriots, you want to give your thoughts on the game?
Yeah. So for me, I thought it was an incredibly disappointing performance from the Texans. I think a lot of people predicted that they were going to get stomped out. I really thought they were going to put up a good effort coming out here with, switched up in the offense, getting rid of Hopkins, adding in David Johnson. It really it all fell flat. And I think a lot of that is definitely owed up to the Chiefs stepping it up on defense. But really, for me, the biggest shocker and the biggest takeaway was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I'm not just saying that because I picked him in fantasy, but the man legitimately looked like a all-around dynamic back that, basically was their only weak point on offense after losing Kareem Hunt. And he looked dynamic out there. He looked like a really important piece for their team going forward. And I'd be scared if I'm going against the Chiefs offense at any point this year. I want nothing to do with that team. They just have so many weapons, so many ways to beat you down. I'm scared of that team, man. That's looking like a strong repeat chance.
You know, one thing too with the rookies is this year, I feel like there's no preseason tape on them, right? I feel like they're going to do well right out of the gate. And then maybe like week 6, week 7, we're going to see the rookies kind of take a step back because finally there's going to be some tape on them. But like if you're the Texans defense, you have zero tape on this guy except from when he was on LSU, but that's not the same offense at all.
Yeah, totally different team.
So we'll see how rookies look out of the gate and how they progress throughout the year. Brad, what did you think about the game?
Yeah, so kind of similar to Nolan. I think my main takeaway from this game was really the running game, especially with the Chiefs. When coming off the Super Bowl, I expected them to have a dominant performance on offense, and they did, but the way they did it wasn't how I expected. I expected them to pick apart the defense with passing the ball, making use of their insane talent and wide receiver and tight end, and obviously with Patrick Mahomes. But I think they really showed that they can be a run-first team if they wanted to, while still being able to destroy you in the air as well. And then on the other side of the ball, you got David Johnson, who I think actually had a pretty decent game. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that, but I think you could really see how losing DeAndre Hopkins did hurt their passing game, where they just couldn't find anyone to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe something we want to talk about after just one game, way too early. Who do you think won that trade? David Johnson looked good, but it looked like Deshaun Watson didn't have anyone to throw to on that field.
I cannot believe that you trade. Well, obviously you can get on the how everybody was enraged after the Texans traded away their star wide receiver, but when you're replacing him with Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb, it just still doesn't feel right.
Where was Randall Cobb?
That's what I'm saying.
Did you guys see him until
maybe one target.
I think he had 2 catches in garbage time.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they signed him to like a pretty good size deal. I forget the number, but it's definitely not worth it.
I do think it's important to point out too that during that game, it was the conditions weren't great. It was
it was kind of wet,
so that might have contributed a little bit to the lack of success in the pass game, but. I think it's still, hard to overlook.
I didn't see any lack of success on the Chiefs side. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true. But
the Chiefs made it work, man.
Coming in with a couple new receivers, it might take them a little bit of time and maybe some better conditions to get that offense going on the passing front. But it is hard to say that DeAndre's presence wasn't missed.
But, and also, too, though, leading up to that game, I mean, Cooks was pretty banged up. Like, I'm pretty sure he was
Cooks
questionable the whole time. So,
quad injury this week.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what they do in week 2.
Can't believe Brandon Cooks got hurt. That's heard of that.
If all their receivers are healthy, I wouldn't sleep on their pass game yet, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on in week 2.
Yeah, and speaking of Brandon Cooks and David Johnson, the Texans are so injury prone. I don't know why they have put together this team of players who have had bad pasts with injury and bring them all to Houston. It seems like a really scary scenario, could be scary scenario in the future. On the other side of the ball, though, on the Chiefs side, I was frustrated. I was texting you guys the entire game, like, how many weapons can you have?
Yeah.
Like, whenever, you think that they stopped them on one play for the run, Tyreek Hill is running across the field for a touchdown, and it was frustrating to watch as someone who apparently doesn't like the Chiefs anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
That team's ridiculously dynamic. I mean,
yeah.
they can go anywhere. I mean, Sammy Watkins had an insane game, and I mean, nobody comes into the season thinking, "Oh, you gotta double up on Sammy. That guy's going to be the dynamic problem for the team." I mean, they can go anywhere. I mean, Robinson was getting a lot of looks. Hardman is still a factor because he's just so fast. Tyreek, like you said, they had a play basically that looked like a screen designed for Clyde Edwards-Helaire going into the end zone, and Tyreek was lined up on the other side of the field, just ran straight across 50 yards, and Pat just chucked it up to him, and he was basically wide open because he just out-sprinted the dude on him.
So how do you stop that offense? Like, that's my
really,
issue here. You can't.
You have so many things that you have so many weapons to deal with, and whenever you have a situation like that, you need to just go all in and put pressure on the quarterback. Like, your only hope is to force Pat Mahomes to make a mistake, because no matter what quarterback you have, if you force him to make like errant throws and throws that he doesn't want to make, there's bound to be mistakes. So I think if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm looking for a way to stop it. You know, you don't have enough secondary weapons to deal with their offense. You need to just pressure Pat Mahomes into making a bad throw or a
but it's not like the Texans don't have a good D line either.
No, they don't.
They have JJ Watt,
a phenomenal line, and that also JJ Watt basically was dominating on the outside every time they lined him up on one of the Chiefs' weaker tackles. But they lined up J.J. Watt in the middle of the field most of the game, which didn't make a lot of sense to me because he was getting bodied by their big centers and guards. But outside, the Chiefs are kind of weak in the tackle game. So I didn't understand that at all.
Maybe it's because they were running between the tackles so well that they needed him on the inside to have pressure. But
I'm sure there was a reason for it. But, yeah, I agree. It's not like the Texans have a weak D-line at all.
Yeah. Is there any other thoughts that you guys have about this game? You know, it was a blowout for sure, but
it was not a great viewer experience.
Yeah.
It was pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie.
I know that we didn't have this plan, but I want to talk a little bit about how you think the NFL did with the fan situation. Like, there's only 15,000 fans there. There's not going to be any in most of the games this weekend. Did it feel weird for you watching it on TV? How do you think the NFL handled that?
Honestly, I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I think from a TV viewer, you can't really notice the difference because they're able to, mess with the sound settings and everything like that. So I think from our point of view, it's pretty nice. We get pretty much the same experience we have all of the previous years. But really the only difference is what the players are experiencing and how the fans in the stadiums are getting that experience, and that's something that we can't really tell from our perspective.
It's basically like watching a Jags game.
Yeah.
The one time I did notice it, I agree with you mostly. The one time I did notice it was when the Texans scored their second touchdown, and in a normal game, even when the opposing team scores a touchdown, there's a little bit of like crowd noise with the small amount of fans, but it was like dead silence. Yeah, it was silent because obviously they're not going to pump in crowd noise. Like, I know they're allowed 70 decibels of crowd noise per stadium, right? They're not going to pump in crowd noise to pump up the opposing team. So it went completely silent, which must be so demoralizing for an away team.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good point. I do think, obviously with the reduced fans, you're really not going to get almost any away team fans at any of the games. So
I think that regardless of how good the teams are, I think you're going to see, obviously home teams are in general favored, but I think you're going to see an even wider discrepancy between home and away games this year.
Right. The one thing I do find interesting is what kind of advantages some teams will have that are having some fans compared to teams that aren't having any fans at all. Because those teams really don't get any sort of home field advantage with no fans in the stadiums, where if you have even 22% capacity like the Chiefs did, that's still giving you something to go off of.
So I thought that was a great discussion recapping the Texans-Chiefs game. Next, we're going to go into what our projections are going to be for each division winner. We're going to go one by one, starting with the AFC East, choosing who's going to win every division. We'll give you our picks, and then we'll fight each other on who's going to be right. It's probably going to be me, but we'll begin with
the host.
Nolan with the AFC East.
Okay, so this is losing a bit of shock value because we may or may not have had some technical difficulties, but I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East.
Whoa!
No!
Oh my God!
That's a shock to me.
Okay, so yeah, I'm picking the AFC East. The Bills, despite being a Pats fan, we'll go into that whole thing in more detail later. AFC West, picking the Chiefs. Nothing new there. AFC North, I'm rolling with the Ravens. I think they're going to continue to be dominant there. AFC South, going to go with the Tennessee Titans. Really like that team. Big fan of them. Big Derrick Henry guy. NFC East is awful. I'm going to go with the Eagles because, oh my God, I just can't. NFC West, we'll stick with the 49ers, but that is a division.
Did he cut out for it?
He cut out.
Yeah, he cut out for us. Nolan?
It's not going well.
He's having internet issues.
Is he?
Yeah. Well, otherwise, how would he have disconnected?
I guess, yeah.
All right.
All right, we'll go with Ethan, and we'll come back to Nolan.
All right. Well, for the AFC East, I kind of wish Nolan was here.
You can step back from your mic.
I wish Nolan was.
You're peaking a little bit.
Me?
Yeah. So just stay like a couple
Better.
more inches. Yeah, that's perfect. Oh my God.
Okay, fixed it. For the AFC East, I wish Nolan was here to hear this, but I'm going with the Pats. I think that Cam Newton will just ball out in New England, and I think they'll beat the Bills in the division. For the AFC West, I'm going with the Chiefs. AFC North, I'm going the Ravens, and the AFC South, I'm actually going with the Colts. I think with the weapons they added, they should be pretty potent on offense. For the NFC East, sorry, Addy, I am going with the Cowboys.
Gross.
I know.
Cowboys are going 0-16.
I hate the Cowboys. I don't want to pick them, but I just think they're the best team in the NFC East.
Yeah.
NFC North, I'm going Green Bay. Got to stay loyal. NFC South, I'm going with New Orleans, and a shocker in the NFC West, I'm going with Seattle. I think they'll be a dark horse in that division.
All right.
Brad?
Yeah, so starting from the AFC with the East, I'm going to side with Nolan, the Pats fan, and say that the Bills are going to win. In the West, no surprise, the Chiefs are going to take that division. North, once again, no surprise, Ravens are going to take that one. South, I'm going to agree with Ethan on this one. The Colts are going to take that division. I think they added a lot of good weapons. They have one of the best O-lines in football.
Yes.
Going to the NFC, we're going to the East. Going to go with the Eagles. They're going to take that division. Cowboys suck, so they obviously won't be winning. NFC West, I'm going to say the 49ers are going to take that division once again. North, obviously the Packers are going to take that. Won't even be close. And then in the South, the Saints are going to take that one, just barely edging out the Buccaneers.
Kinan.
All right, so I actually agree with Nolan. I'm going with Bills to the top of the AFC East. AFC West, Chiefs, but I don't think it'll be as close as people think it will be. AFC North, I'm going Ravens. AFC South, I really want to say Jaguars, but I can't because they're terrible. So I'm going to go with Titans, even though they're my least favorite team in the league. For the NFC, Cowboys, 100%. NFC West, I think all four of them have a good chance of winning the division. I think the 49ers are probably the best team, but my gut says the Rams are going to get back to their glory days and win the division. NFC North, I don't see a team other than the Packers that would win the division. NFC South, Saints 100%. I don't think the Buccaneers can compete.
Oof. All right. Well, y'all are mostly correct in your picks of what's going to happen. But the AFC winner is going to be the New England Patriots. Like, there's no way that Bill Belichick is going to let any other team win that division. Cam Newton's a god. You guys forget about how good he is. It's going to be the Pats. Chiefs, obviously, like, ridiculous team. See, AFC North, I feel like y'all are sleeping on the Steelers, but I still can't take the Steelers. I'm still going to take the Ravens because Lamar Jackson's a cheat code. AFC South, I'm also going with the Colts. I think the Colts have a great head coach, a great organization. I think Derrick Henry is going to be good, but I don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. And after his huge contract situation, like, any player who gets that much of money for not being so good is going to fall off. NFC East, you already know that it's going to be the Cowboys that win that division.
Oh.
And the reason I'm saying that is not because I don't believe in my Eagles. It's because the Eagles are already injured, and there has not been a repeat winner of that division since the 03-04 season. So there has been a 16-year stretch where it's gone Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. Sometimes there's a Giants or a Washington in
there's
there.
There's no Redskins in there.
There's no Redskins anywhere.
There's no Washington football team there.
Yeah.
Please.
So I want the Eagles to go 16-0, and I hope they do. But I think the Cowboys are going to win. Like, they have such a stacked team. Dak Prescott's on a year where he has to win. So I'm going Cowboys. It's probably a surprise, maybe. 49ers, I think, also have a good team. Kyle Shanahan's good in the regular season. Playoffs, not so much. All right, NFC North. Y'all are sleeping on Seabiscuit, Mitch Trubisky,
Oh my
and
god.
the Chicago Bears are going to win the NFC North, and I am so confident about
I
this
can't
pick.
believe I signed up for this.
The Chicago Bears are so good, you don't even know, and I'm ready to fight anyone on that. NFC South, dude, all four of these teams could low-key win the division. I think I'm going to have to go with the Saints because I think that Buccaneers are Dream Team 2020. Bring me back to Vince Young when he was on the Eagles and on that Dream Team. So I don't think the Bucs are going to be that good. I think Saints are going to win that. I don't know where Nolan is to finish his picks, but hang on.
His computer restarted.
Oh,
yeah.
Just in time.
Cool.
Finish your picks.
Yeah, finish your picks.
Okay, hold on. I gotta pull up. Where was I?
Just quick go through them again.
I think, you got to go through the NFC, I think, or just rattle them all off.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with the NFC because I'm pretty sure I was working through the AFC. Eagles for the NFC East, NFC West, the 49ers, NFC North Packers, NFC South Buccaneers.
All right, so our team, if we combine those all together, AFC East, it looks like we got 3 people winning, have the Bills winning, and 2 people have the Pats winning. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this.
I think you're right.
Sounds right.
AFC West 5-0. All of us think the Chiefs are going to win. AFC North 5-0. All of us think the Ravens are going to win. And I think that we have a 3-2 with Colts and Titans, right? Or am I 4-1?
I think
3-2.
I think you're right.
Yeah, 3-2. NFC East, we got a 3-2 Cowboys, Eagles. With the Cowboys winning. Nolan, you missed my pick, but I think the Cowboys win the NFC.
No,
disgusting.
I think you'll be more shocked with the NFC North pick you have.
In the NFC West, 5-0, we had the 49ers winning.
No, I had Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle. Sorry, Dark Horse.
I had the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't listening.
Wow.
So we had 3-1-1 for 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks. Yep. NFC North, we had 4 losers who think the Packers are going to win, and the Chicago Bears who are going to actually win the NFC North.
That's not shocking at all.
Huh?
You picking the Bears is not shocking at all.
Yeah.
If the Bears win the division, I will eat a bowl of minestrone made out of your underwear.
I'm so ready.
Quote that?
And for the NFC South, I want to say 3-2 Saints. Or was it? Yeah, 3-2 Saints.
Sounds right.
So maybe we'll start with the AFC East. Why do you? We kind of all went into it, but I kind of said why I think the Pats are going to win. Any takers on why the Pats are not going to win the division again? And why
I want to hear Nolan's take on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so my main belief is not – so I'm not really believing against Bill. I do believe Bill is still the savant of coaching. The man still has a plan. I believe that we're going to have a really interesting offense to watch with Cam Newton taking the helm. We're missing a lot of weapons. We had a lot of dudes – sit out the season, which I think will have an impact. We literally lost our linebacker core. We have our linebackers from last year are all gone. Our secondary is still amazing for defense. We have a lot of good stuff going on. I just think that it's going to be accredited to the Bills' performance. It's not going to be a lack of the Patriots playing well. So I think they're going to win a wild card spot. I just think that the Bills were really good last year. and they're going to be even better this year. I believe McDermott's a really solid coach. Josh Allen had a really great year last year, and I think he's going to continue to progress. I really just like that team. It's a lot of fun to watch. And I think the Bills will have easily double-digit wins for this year, and that's going to make them really tough to beat.
Yeah, that makes sense, except Bill Belichick's still the coach of the New England Patriots, so I don't know.
The only time we've lost the division before is because we had 3 teams go 11-5, and you know what? I could see the Bills having like an 11-5 year with the Patriots going like 10-6. I think that's totally reasonable.
I think Nolan did hit on a key point, which is a lot of players opted out of the Patriots this year, and they have been dealing with a couple injuries and losing some players. So, although it is easy to go and say Bill Belichick will pull it out, I think he's working with a lot less than he's used to.
I mean,
so.
People were saying last year that was the weakest roster offensively that the Patriots have ever had, at least in the Bill Belichick era.
When was the last time they lost in the wild card round?
That's true.
That's true. And,
it's been a long time.
And I mean, you look at last year's roster and you look at this year's roster and you're like, man, it's not looking too pretty. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really determine a season just based off of paper. So I think people that are dismissing the Patriots too quick are misunderstanding how like strong of a coach Bill Belichick is and has always been. And I think that's just really it.
Any other thoughts on the division winner?
Bill Belichick will this team to at least 9 wins. I mean, they started off 8-0 last year, and they had a weak offensive roster. It's not like they're out completely. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this division? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next interesting one.
Let's shift.
Yes, I think AFC West, AFC North, both of them pretty locked in for the most part for the division winners. We'll get into the wild card after we finish, but let's go down to the AFC South. So we had 3 people saying the Colts, 2 people saying the Titans. Who wants to start talking about these 2 teams?
Who picked the Colts? Who's
me?
Yeah, me.
I also picked the Colts.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear this argument.
I think, Brad, you articulated it pretty well when you were choosing.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I think the Colts, I mean, it's pretty easy to see they have a lot of offensive weapons this year. You know, picking up Jonathan Taylor, I think he's going to be a huge player out of college, and he's going to really bolster that run game. And also, they have one of the best offensive lines in football, which
if not the best,
not the best.
That's fantastic for such a dynamic running back like Jonathan.
Of course,
Taylor was in college. Ooh.
Yeah, so it's going to allow Jonathan Taylor to do disgusting things to opposing defenses. Not to mention, I mean, Phillip Rivers may be a little bit past his prime, but I still think he's a good quarterback. And in a team like that, where he's got all the pieces around him, he's going to be able to make a lot of things happen. And even last year, you could see that they were so close to making it all work. And this year, they've upgraded in all the right places, and they're going to be able to take a division that I think is one of the weaker divisions in football this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan, you want to add on to that?
Well, I just think the run game is pretty huge for them. And not to mention, they still have Marlon Mack, who put up a very good year last year. So that 1-2 punch with Taylor and Mack I think it'll be one of the best in football with that offensive line. But then they're also getting some of their receivers back. Paris Campbell was hurt like all year. He didn't have a chance to, give an impact to that team. So I think with him back and T.Y. Hilton being T.Y. Hilton, I think Phillip will have a pretty quiet but pretty good year.
Yeah. Mine, I'll keep it quick. I think the coaching staff is the biggest thing for me. I think Frank Wright is like probably top 5 coach in the NFL.
Coach. Awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah. He was thrown into like the worst situation last year with Andrew Luck retiring and having Jacoby Brissett. And I think they did well for the first couple games.
That team played very confidently. That was a good year for them.
Yeah.
I do think last year, if they had Andrew Luck, they'd be serious Super Bowl contenders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Nolan and Kinan, you want to give your thoughts on why you think the Titans are going to win?
I mean, I know this division better than all of you. I watched every team countless times. And I just think that the Titans just have an extremely dynamic offense. And last year they were, if I'm not mistaken, the most efficient offense, even more efficient than the Ravens, when Tannehill was starting. So I genuinely believe that the Titans offense will still be as good as last. I mean, it might regress a little bit, but it'll still be one of the best offenses in the NFL. And their defense, like, is easily serviceable. And I think it's going to be similar to the Ravens, where their offense is going to be so good that their defense is really just the afterthought, similar to the Chiefs. I just think they're going to be blowing people out of the water very quickly and not having to worry about having the world's most stout defense.
I do want to just quickly say, because I think we can move on from this one. I think a lot of people are definitely willing to dismiss Ryan Tannehill as like just enough. You know, like he had a very solid year last year, but if you look at the stats, you know, he only has a few anomalies. He had the most yards per throw, I think, of any starting quarterback once he actually picked up the reins. And I think the most important stat to look at is just win-loss whenever you're dealing with this sort of thing. And the plain and simple fact is the team started off with Marcus Mariota out there, and they were not a good team. Like, the Titans were a bad football team with Marcus Mariota as their leader and quarterback. And Ryan Tannehill came in, and they immediately turned it around. I mean, they were probably the hottest team in football for the second half of the year.
They scored the most points per drive of any team in the NFL with Ryan Tannehill.
Incredibly efficient, and Ryan Tannehill, I think, really fits perfectly with the Derrick Henry situation, because you can just hand the ball to Derrick Henry and he'll get you what you need most times. Mm-hmm. But with just the right amount of weapons they have on wide receiver and Ryan Tannehill being serviceable, and I think a really passionate leader, I think it's a really good team.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said, too, after the Texans' performance, that none of us took the Texans to win that division, even though they still have a strong team. But Let's move to the NFC East. 3 people chose the Cowboys. 2 people chose my Philadelphia Eagles. That wasn't me.
My Philadelphia Eagles that I didn't pick.
I didn't pick.
All right.
Kinan, you want to start off?
I think this is 3 terrible teams, and it's not even that the 3 terrible teams being the Giants, Eagles, and Washington, and it's not necessarily because the Eagles are bad. I think Carson Wentz is fantastic. It's just because they are just pounded with injuries, and it just doesn't look like their injury luck is going to get any better this year. And so I think the Cowboys are a very solid team, excellent offensive roster, very good defensive roster. I think they're going to go at least 12-4.
Ooh. There's someone who had them in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. That was like a simulation that I read online. That was awful.
One of the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but those are my thoughts. I mean, feel free to present why you think the Eagles are going to be the division winners, because I'm curious about that.
Nolan and Ethan.
No, I had the Cowboys.
I had the Eagles. I can take a little bit on this. So, here's a bit of my reasoning. First of all, the Cowboys have been historically mediocre with very talented rosters, and I think this year will not be an exception to that. They're getting a new first-year, or not a first-year coach, but a new coach into their system, which will take a while to get integrated, especially with no preseason. It's going to be a little bit tough for old Mike there. But really, I think the Eagles, even last year, you saw, had about as bad of injury luck as you could have, and they still ended up winning the division and making it to the divisional round. Wait, no, they didn't, did they? Almost making it to the divisional round. They were pretty close.
Got hit by Jadeveon.
If it wasn't for that little bit of extra injury luck, then they would have been there. But I think the Eagles are such a deep team, and they have so much talent on that roster that even with the injuries that are coming through, I still think they're the best team in that division. And I actually think they're one of the best teams in the NFC overall.
You're making me blush, bro.
I know. I just think that Carson Wentz is a player that
Colin Coward Part 2.
Hard to disagree with them, but I think even with their injury luck, it's still their division to lose, because the Cowboys have shown that they are not able to utilize their talent to the fullest extent, and the Eagles are able to utilize the lack of talent they have when the injuries come and start hitting them, which we can already see it has started to happen.
Yeah.
Let's hope, bro. Let's hope. I hope I'm wrong. Unless Nolan, you have any other thoughts on the Eagles, let's move on.
No, I just can't pick the Cowboys. That's basically it.
I'm so 50-50 on this division. You don't even know.
The division's always
NFC West. I think we'll start with Ethan, because you're the only one that didn't choose the NFC Super Bowl contender.
Kinan didn't pick him either.
There were 2 people.
Oh, yeah,
I pick.
Kinan. All right, pick the Seahawks.
It's easy to
And then we'll
forget
go to
about
Kinan for the Rams.
the Jags fan. I picked Seattle because, well, okay, Russell Wilson, and I think he is a candidate for MVP this year. Like, I think this will be the year he does it. That man, he's just too good. And I think with what he was doing in the years past, like, I think Lockett and Metcalf are better than the receivers he's had in the past. I also think Chris Carson is poised for a good year. And they added a dog in Jamal Adams on that defense. Like, I'm thinking the Legion of Boom is going to start to be reassembled here.
Almost forgot about that move. That was big for them.
That was fantastic. And the
That was
Seahawks leverage
amazing.
safeties fantastically.
How quick is it going to take for Jamal Adams to flip off Pete Carroll like Earl Thomas did?
I don't think Pete Carroll is as bad as Adam Gase, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Pete Carroll just lets Jamal play. Like, if you
There's
just
one
do
thing with
it,
the Seahawks, though, I feel bad for Russell. Like, they never have any people around him. He's always scrambling in the backfield.
Give my man an O-line. Jesus.
Yeah.
Kinan, you want to talk about why the Rams are going to win?
I think the Rams had an offseason. I mean, they did have an offseason last year. And people are too quick to forget that the year prior they were just phenomenal. They were a Super Bowl. They were in the Super Bowl. They were playing very, very well up until the Super Bowl. And it's not like there are that many roster pieces that are gone. I mean, it's fine that they don't have Todd Gurley because running backs are fairly expendable in the NFL. And also Todd Gurley was running through the most massive holes. The only thing that makes me doubt it is their O-line isn't as good as prior years. And I don't know. I just have doubts about Jared Goff, but in the same vein, I think that Sean McVay is a fantastic coach, and I think that he will be able to get his roster to perform the way that they were 2 years ago instead of how they were performing last year.
That makes sense.
It's not really a slight on the 49ers. I just think that the Rams are going to be back to what they were, and I think that's better than the 49ers.
Yeah, Nolan and Brad, do you want to quickly go over why you think the 49ers are going to hold their position?
I'll throw it out there. I think it's not really that much of a hot take to say that the 49ers will be there. They don't have a wide receiver core. The wideouts are not strong on that team. But honestly, I feel like that's their only real weakness. The defense is still absurdly elite. They have so many just playmakers on that team. And the running game is still very serviceable. You got a nice committee back there. And Jimmy G didn't have the greatest year last year, but he's still a very serviceable quarterback, and he gets done what he needs to get done. I just don't see any other team in that division with the same talent level. I think the Rams have so much dead cap that they just can't really make much moves. Jalen Ramsey, I think, got an insane extension. He's a top 5 corner, but, I mean, he's being paid like he is that dude, and I just don't think he's that dude.
I think I think they signed Jalen Ramsey just to free up the cap because they moved the dead cap over the years to the signing bonus, so now they can be under the cap this year.
I mean, they sacrificed a lot to get Jalen, so they had to make something happen and keep that man around, and I think he knew that.
There's so much dead money on the Rams.
Oh my
it's
God.
ridiculous. They're still paying for Todd Gurley.
Cookie. They got a lot
They
going
paid
on.
$2 million to Clay Matthews, I think, this year.
Well, they're trying to contest that in court, right?
Yeah.
In any case, crazy stuff. I think the Seahawks could be a dark horse, and they might just, by the will of Russell Wilson, hopefully an MVP campaign, because I always root for that dude. He's amazing. But I just think the 49ers are just too strong overall of a team. I think they're going to be in Super Bowl contention for another couple of years at least.
Makes sense. I think that we should move on to the NFC North, where I'll probably start off this, and I've already said a little bit about it, but I think that Mitch Trubisky is in the most pressured year of his life. He is not going to have a job if he doesn't perform well, and he knows that he barely won that quarterback competition in Chicago. Nick Foles is breathing down his neck, ready to start, ready to carry that team. I think Mitch Trubisky doesn't even have to be good. He just has to be okay for the Bears defense to take over, because you forget how good that Bears defense actually is. last year what happened was that they were on the field for like 45 minutes each game. Like you can't have a defense that's that winded all the time. But I think Mitch Trubisky is going to be better. I think that the Packers aren't going to be as good. I still think Aaron Rodgers is going to be good. I have thoughts about Aaron Jones. I don't think that he's that good of a running back that everyone says he is. I think the Lions are like a joke team that everyone's hyping up for some reason. Vikings, I'm surprised that none of you guys chose the Vikings to win. But I think the Vikings also is kind of sus. Losing Stephon Diggs is huge. Kirk Cousins, I don't really believe in him as much, even though he said like, if I die, I'll die with COVID, which is hilarious. I think Michigan's going to be better. I think I like Matt Nagy. I like their defensive coordinator and their running back situation. So that's my thoughts. You guys want to quickly go into why you think the Packers? I know we've done it a little bit already, but why you think the Packers are going to dominate this division?
So I'll actually make a quick comment here. I don't think actually, despite what I said before, this will be an easy division for the Packers to win. I think it's going to be very competitive with the Vikings and the Bears. But kind of like you were touching on, the Bears' biggest asset is their defense. Their offense is just completely lackluster. And I think in the way the league is operating right now, you can't win games with just your defense. You're going to need some sort of offensive production, especially in the NFC North. You're going to have to keep up with teams like the Vikings and the Packers. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I think the Packers, they've kept a good amount of their core, so they're going to be about the same team they were before. I think the Vikings have also stayed at a pretty similar level, maybe falling off a little bit with the loss of Stephon Diggs, but they've made some other moves to kind of make up for that. But I think overall it's going to be a really competitive division, and I just like the Packers going forward. So they're my pick for the division.
Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll move on to
really
the NFC
quickly.
South. Yeah.
Really quickly, you look at the NFC North, and when I look at the teams, I see the Packers won 13-3 NFC Championship, not too bad. I look at the Bears and I giggle a little bit. I look at the Lions and I giggle a little harder. And then I look at the Vikings and I chortle. That's
your point.
Division.
Excellent analysis.
Yeah, excellent analysis.
Hard to
I think we're also like living in Appleton, close to Green Bay. Like that's.
There may be a little bit of home team bias. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Have you seen the Vikings have any amount of success other than fluke plays in the playoffs against the Saints? I don't think so.
I mean, to be fair, the Vikings, so they got rid of Diggs. Like, we've kept the same offense we've had last year, except, I mean, we've added Dillon in the draft, who I don't know what to expect from him week one. I'm hoping he pops off or gets some touches. But I think we actually improved our defense with the addition of Kirksey and then having Oren Burks slide into that second linebacking role. I think our middle linebackers, which we struggled to stop the run last season, I think they got a lot more athletic, and hopefully we can stop the run a bit more.
All right, let's move on to the NFC South here. We had 3 people choose the Saints and 2 people choose the Buccaneers. Let's start with Nolan again because his favorite player, Tom Brady, is on the Bucs. Why do you think the Bucs are going to win, and why aren't they a dream team 2020?
I just the dream team idea is hysterical. I love it, but my God, it is just going all in on this man. I think you look at a lot of the Buccaneers games last year, they had a lot of winnable situations. They were put in close games where Jameis Winston did not step up. That defense is pretty strong. I mean, Shaq Barrett led the league in sacks last year, I believe. He's a very solid player. I think he's a really interesting piece to have. But offensively is where all the hype is, and I think it's completely well placed. I don't think Gronk is going to be used very much in the offense. I think to assume that the corpse of Gronk is just going to suddenly return to form is ridiculous. But you put Tom Brady out there, he makes smart decisions. You can say what you will on Tom as he's aged, but he definitely doesn't try to force things, and he doesn't make bad decisions regularly. You put him out there with 2 top 10, I mean, you could even make an argument for top 5 receivers in the NFL, and you have O.J. Howard, who I think might legitimately get a place in the offense as a real like weapon, while Gronk is still like the blocking tight end, more for run, protection. O.J. Howard is a legitimate weapon. You got a lot of pieces on that offense. The offensive line is a bit of a question mark, But you put Tom back there, he's going to make the right throws. You have elite targets that he hasn't had in years. I think he's still just as good. You put him out there, he's going to make it work. That offense is just so stacked. I don't know. I just have so much faith in Tom.
You could say the same thing about the Saints, though, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't. The Saints have been great for years. They've been in Super Bowl contention the whole time. The past 4 or 5 years, I think. I forget when the last time they missed the playoffs, when they had a bit of a lull. But Drew Brees is still elite, and he's got Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara just signed that extension, so he's staying for a while. I think the Saints are still just as good. I just think because the Bucs are such a mix-up and such a new face in that division, they'll find a way to kind of shock teams for the first few games here, get off to a nice start, and get a lead in the division that they just won't give up.
Do one of you want to take the other side of that argument, the Saints? I forget who actually chose the Saints.
I mean, the only thing for me is I don't see any reason why the Saints would drop the division to the Buccaneers. I mean, they were amazing last year. They were amazing the year before. Historical precedence for me is what's taken it. I just don't see the Buccaneers just suddenly being like, "Hey guys, we're going to dominate the division." I mean, show me that. Prove me wrong.
So for me, I actually have a very opposite view of Nolan. So he thinks that the Buccaneers are going to get off to a nice early start and keep that lead. I actually think it's going to be the opposite. I think by the end of the year, the Saints and the Buccaneers are going to be very even teams, pretty much at the same level. But I think it's going to take a little bit for the Bucs to get to that level. I think they have a lot of new players coming in there. And with Tom Brady and Gronk, they're going to have to learn new systems, which is something that Tom Brady has never had to do in his career. So I think it's going to take them a little bit to get going. And once they do, I think they'll be on par with the Saints. But it's clear that the Saints are really going all in for this year and next year. This is their Super Bowl window, and they're going to make the most of it. So I think they're going to take the division early, and they're going to keep it. And then eventually the Bucs will catch up to them.
I think that I'm excited. I'm excited to see Tom Brady when things don't go well, because in the off season, everything looks so happy. Oh, the players are coming back, but as soon as they lose 2 games in a row, and Tom Brady's screaming at these players who came to ring chase, that's when I want to see, does a team fall apart? Because these are all big name players. Leonard Fournette is someone who's not gonna be taken well to have his quarterback screaming at him, but Tom Brady's going to do that. That's his leadership style. So I want to see how the team gels when things aren't going well, because preseason everything can look good, Dream Team 2020. I keep saying it, but it looked so great when Nnamdi Asomugha, Vince Young, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, all these players came to the Eagles to kind of go for a Super Bowl, and they ended up going 4-12. I don't think that that's going to happen with the Bucs, but I just want to see when they don't do so well.
I mean, there's more nuance with how the Eagles situation was, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, so I think that this was a nice and long discussion before the season started about who we think is going to win the division. Some of the divisions are locked in the AFC, 5-0, 5-0. I think the NFC has a little bit more competition there because there's not 2 teams that are 2 real contenders. So we'll move on to our week 1 picks here that start tomorrow. We're going to be picking just like NFL Sunday, Fox Sunday style. We're each going to be picking 1 lock and 1 upset using the ESPN betting odds. So 1 team that we think is locked to win that week, and then 1 team that's going to upset based on the betting line. So we'll start with Nolan here. Who's your lock and who's your upset?
So for me, I'm going to go with a lock on the Indianapolis Colts over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shouldn't be much of a surprise. Not much going on there. I think the Jaguars are going to suck, and the Colts have been good. So it's pretty simple, pretty quick and easy. But I think the one that'll be a little bit more interesting, my upset pick, is going to be the New York Football Giants over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. I have a great deal of faith in the Danny Dimes of the future, Daniel Jones, and Saquon obviously is still one bad man, I think you got a lot of offensive weapons coming back from injury on the Giants' end. Defensively, they're still a little lacking, but that Pittsburgh Steelers offense, I think, is still very mediocre, even if Big Ben comes back. I really do think they got a chance to pull it off. I
No
think they
belief
match up
in
well.
Juju.
Was that?
No belief in Juju.
I like Juju. I have no faith in Ben Roethlisberger. So
I'm glad you say that because I'm rolling with Danny Dimes as my starting quarterback in fantasy. So just hearing someone else's belief, gets me excited.
For your sake, Ethan, I'll root for the Danny Dimes. But yeah, no, I really do think the G-men have a solid offense and they got a lot of weapons. Daniel Jones looks good. I don't know. I like that team and I like that matchup. That's mostly it. I don't think that team is going to be very great this year overall, but I think the matchup is really solid for them. And I think they're going to roll with it.
Ethan, who's your lock? Your upset?
My lock is the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington football team. Even though they're banged
if
up.
you watch ESPN this week, they were all saying that the Washington football team is going to beat the Eagles.
Even though the Eagles are banged up, the Washington football team, I just don't think has it in it. My upset, though, is Joe Burrow and those Cincinnati Bengals over the Chargers.
Let's go.
Wow.
For the first time in a while, I think the Bengals will have a solid offense with Joe Mixon. They'll have AJ Green back healthy for game 1 at least. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Auden Tate. They got some weapons. So I think they might run up the score a little bit. I think they'll surprise people.
All right. You know what? I think you're wrong because my lock are the Los Angeles Chargers.
There's some drama.
I think that the Bengals are going to be god awful this year.
Can't wait to readdress this.
Joe Burrow is going to have a Johnny Manziel type career season.
I cannot.
The Bengals have no one. AJ Green's going to tear his ACL. It's going to be awful.
I'm looking forward to rediscussing this. I just hope I'm right.
And my upset, which it shouldn't even be an upset, but according to ESPN, the Bears are not favored against the Lions for some reason, but the Bears are going to blow out the Lions in Ford Field. It's going to be like a 50-0 game. All the Trubisky haters are going to be silenced. Yeah, that's my
impressive
quote-unquote upset.
Can we clip both of Addy's picks here, just for future?
Are there you say Trubisky haters? Are there Trubisky believers? Is there a comment to that?
Please come forward if you are a Trubisky.
I am a Trubisky believer for sure. I have ordered my fake Trubisky jersey from China because that's how much I believe in him.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
It's a waste of money.
Brad, you want to give your pick?
Yeah, so I'll start out with my lock. I think the New Orleans Saints are going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I kind of alluded to this earlier when we were discussing Tampa and New Orleans for the division winner, but I think the Bucs are going to come out to a slow start. It's going to take them a little bit with no preseason to get all these new players on the same page and working together. Again, with Tom Brady in a new system, it's going to take them a while to actually get going. And I think the Saints, they know that their window is ending, and they've made a lot of moves to guarantee that this year is going to be a success. So I think they're going to come out hot, and they're going to beat the super team from the offseason in the Buccaneers. And then for my upset, I'm going to go for a spicy one here. The Arizona Cardinals are going to beat the San Francisco 49ers.
I was hoping somebody was going to pull that.
Yep.
My upset as well.
Yeah,
What?
so
Kyler?
I think this is one of the best divisions in football, and I think any of these divisional games can go either way. But I think coming out, Kyler is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in that division, and he's going to put on a show with DeAndre. The 49ers
You know
will put
the
up
other
a good
quarterbacks
fight.
in that division, right?
I do know the other quarterbacks in that division. He may not be the best, but he's going to be up there.
I think Kyler's top 2.
He's going to be coming
No,
out of
I
there.
don't believe anything you said because you
Question.
said $22.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is Kyler Murray worth $22 in your opinion for a dynasty
In my
draft?
opinion, yes.
In his opinion, it is.
Sorry, Brad. Continue.
No problem. Yeah, but I think Kyler's going to come out there. He's going to show that he's the real deal. And with DeAndre in his receiving core, he is going to show that they are here to contend. And they are going to beat the 49ers in a close game, but they'll take it for the win.
Wow. And Kinan, you want to give your picks?
All right. So I also had the same upset because I think that there's no like this is just gut feeling. I think that the Cardinals are just gonna go like real hard this game. They're gonna just really just beat up on the Niners, and I think I honestly I believe in Kyler Murray. I really do. I think he is the second best quarterback in the division after Russell Wilson, and I think he will prove that in the Week 1 matchup. And then my lock is the Raiders over the Panthers. I just do not believe the Panthers have a strong roster. I sadly do not believe in Teddy Bridgewater whatsoever. And I think that the Raiders, with their draft acquisition, they drafted Henry Ruggs, so I think it's going to have a breakout year. I think that they're just going to be great. I think that their offense is finally going to be what they wanted it to be. I think Derek Carr is going to have a fantastic game. I just think in general offenses are going to be better in Week 1.
I should have chosen that as my upset.
Yeah,
because I think the Panthers are going to be good. I think the Raiders are awful.
I think that the Panthers are just coming off to me as a one-man band with Christian McCaffrey, just because I don't think that Teddy Bridgewater can be a starting quarterback.
That's a pretty good one-man band, though.
It is a pretty good one-man band, but what if you focus on that one-man band, it becomes a zero-man band?
That's what everyone said about Derrick Henry in the playoffs, and they won 2 games. I feel like CMC is just going to carry that team. What if they win the division?
They won't.
I would be shocked.
I would be so shocked. I mean, their offense, like, what's his name? Is it DJ Moore? I think DJ Moore is fantastic, but I think that Teddy Bridgewater is a big question mark. I think he's better than he was when he was on the Vikings, but he also wasn't good on the Vikings. So I'm just very hesitant to say that Teddy Bridgewater will be a good enough starting quarterback to win as many football games as everybody thinks they will.
All right, let's go back to that Chargers-Bengals game. You think the Bengals are going to beat the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah, I also think the Bengals are definitely going to beat the
Chargers.
Wow.
I have a partner.
What? You guys, you don't even know. Tyrod Taylor is going to go out in the field, all right, and then he's going to hurt himself.
No,
and
Tyrod Taylor
my man,
throw 8 passes to
Justin
Austin
Herbert.
Eckler.
Justin Herbert is going to come out swinging because he looked so fine in those pictures that they took. The Los Angeles Chargers, because they're on Hard Knocks, they took these fire-ass team photos.
Oh
Justin
my
Herbert
goodness,
looked
this
like
is
a
what-
dime.
This is the
That's
analysis.
what we're basing this off of.
He
I
looked
wish
like
we
a
could
Fire,
say
fire.
fire.
Backup
Come on.
quarterback option.
Bro, who's the most attractive NFL quarterback for like the last 10 years?
Jimmy
It's Tom
Garoppolo.
Brady. Who has the most rings the last 10 years? It's Tom Brady. Like, it's
Okay.
not correlation, it's causation.
I'm
We-
liking
We will have to rediscuss this, but dude, I think with the Bengals have offensive weapons. It's just a matter of can they stay on the field. And I think, Week 1, everyone should be back healthy. Like, the Chargers just lost Derwin James to IR, so that's one of their.
I also think John Ross is going to have a great year.
I
don't know
forgot about
if
him
he's gonna be
too.
good or not, but
Okay, they got.
I like Joe Burrow. What he was known for in college is very precise, deep passes. That was his thing.
Mhm.
And
You're forgetting about the Chargers, though. Austin Eckler's good. Keenan Allen's good. Mike Williams is good. Like,
Man, I'm really excited for the Chargers to have 3rd and 3 on every single drive.
I'm not saying the Chargers aren't good. I think the Bengals are gonna come out to play.
I think Joe Burrow, because there's no tape on him, nobody knows what to expect. He's going to be just throwing dots. And then the next game, Week 2, he's going to get absolutely destroyed.
I think Joe Burrow is going to be a
Joey
massive-
Bosa is going to on Joe Burrow's body after the 8th sack.
Yeah, Brad thinks Joe Burrow's
Okay.
gonna be a bust.
I think he's
He
going to
is
be a
gonna
massive bust. He had an amazing season of college football, but that's about it.
Okay,
I don't
but
think
let me-
that's going to translate
Let me just
into
say
the
this
NFL.
though.
Did you see how ugly he looked on draft night too?
With the
Good
weapons,
God,
oh
man.
my god, the weapons that the Bengals have could, if they wanted to implement that same style offense that they did at LSU that Joe Burrow thrived in, they could.
See,
And I
they
think-
they may have weapons, but what kind of line do they have? Joe Burrow is going to be running for his life. He won't be able to even take a look at his
Yeah,
targets.
One of the best part, one of the big things that people liked about Joe Burrow in college was he was excellent under pressure. And
I feel like
obviously,
college
the speed-
pressure compared to the NFL
speed
is a
of the
whole
NFL
different.
is completely different. But if he was good enough at it in college, I think as he learns more, as he gets used to it, I think he'll develop the skills and perform. I'm really high on Joe Burrow. I really
I'm just
like
saying
him.
they get their left tackle Jonah Williams, their first round pick last year, back. Like
Oh yeah,
their
I
lines
forgot
might
about
not
him.
their line might not be terrible. So who knows? Who knows?
I think what it comes down to for the Cincinnati Bengals, I see the Bengals this year as being in the same exact situation as the Cleveland Browns last year, where there was legitimately so much talent available on that team. It comes down to coaching. And
Yes.
the Cincinnati Bengals have been stuck with mediocre coaching for over a decade before this last year.
And the Chargers have good coaching too.
Yeah, the Chargers
Good
have a
this
great
year.
coach. Swan is an excellent coach. And the Bengals got a new guy in there. He now has, obviously this offseason was weird, but he has time now to really implement the way that he wants to have the offense go. I like Joe Burrow. I want him to succeed, but I'm also not super high on him. I don't know exactly. I think it will come down to, can he come out here with the confidence? I think he has that confidence. He doesn't seem like too cocky. He seems like he knows what he can do, and he's confident in what he can do. I think it really is just going to come down to, can you create a proper scheme for him? And with a new coach, that's just a total toss-up for me. So I don't know. I think it's a great first game. I don't think the Chargers are ridiculously so good that they're going to stomp the hell out of the Bengals, but I think the Chargers are much more proven, and they've moved on from a garbage quarterback in Phillip Rivers in this last year. Man was awful. So I think I think the Chargers are going to come out swinging. I think they're going to be a great team, and I just don't think the Bengals are there yet. But I could totally be wrong.
I can't believe you're calling Phillip Rivers a garbage quarterback.
Last year he was awful.
Yeah,
he was
last year was
an awful
terrible.
quarterback
And then,
last year.
And then you have three other people. So me and you chose the Titans, and three other people chose the Colts. Everybody thinks he's going to be so good on the Colts. Again,
I'm not saying he's gonna be so good. I just
don't-
think the Colts have other
I think the
weapons.
Colts will be so good.
I just don't think Phillip Rivers will perform the same.
Last
He
year
was great 2 years ago. He just dropped off last year, and it's not like the team was that different.
He was commuting all the way from San Diego to LA every day.
Last year
Wow, man.
he had 4,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. So
Yeah, how many wins did he have? None. That's what I thought.
I mean, yeah, the interceptions is problematic, but Phillip could still get the ball down the field.
True.
So who knows?
All right. Any more thoughts on week one? How you think it's gonna go? I'm excited. I'm excited to see a no fans game. See if that's weirder than the 15,000 fans. I'm assuming it's not going to be, but any thoughts about this week before we wrap up here?
Let's
Got
go,
a little bit
Cam.
over an hour.
I think the Lions being favored week one is atrocious.
I'm just-
I agree with Addy. I think the Bears are going to win that one.
I'm excited to just see all these football games and see how
A lot of
our
great
predictions
storylines week
shake
one.
out.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Dude, I'm excited for Red Zone.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
excited for what's his name? What's
Scott Hansen.
Scott Hansen?
Scott Hansen.
God, I
Talk
love
to
that.
me for 7
Love that
hours
man.
straight. God.
Give me 7 hours of Scott Hansen ASMR. Oh my god, inject it into my veins.
Listen to Scott Hansen through a filter with minimum volume.
Perfection.
So yeah, I'm excited for this week. I'm excited. Hopefully that this podcast will continue for a couple weeks this year. Maybe every single week if we're diligent. But I
That's
doubt it.
being optimistic, man.
Depends on
Yeah.
our fan base.
Yeah, depends on
It's for the
the
fans. It's for the fans.
depends on our sponsors. Wink, wink.
On
sponsor. Yeah, so I'd like to thank our sponsor, Metalogic.
Thank you, Metalogic Gaming. Metalogic Gaming.
Metalogic Gaming and Thinky Tanky as well.
Thank you,
Great.
our co-host.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this week. I'm excited for football to be back. I'm excited to wear my Eagles jersey all day, cheering on the Eagles defeat the Washington
Football team.
Football team. So if we don't have anything else for this week, thank you guys. Thanks for being here, everyone. You guys are all going to be wrong with your division winners, but that's okay.
Half of ours were the same, Addy, except for Packers.
Bears going to win the Super Bowl 2020 or 2021.
Good talks, everybody.